Does Coach K's final ride end Saturday night in New Orleans? Can Villanova spring the upset over Kansas despite the loss of Justin Moore? And NBA picks in fast and furious fashion. Good afternoon, happy Friday, and welcome to the latest installment of Bet. Alongside Anita Marks, who's wonderful, I'm Joe Fortenbaugh, and I'm not even impressed by that. We got a lot in store for you today. Before we get to business, a reminder, youtube.com/ESPN Sports Betting. That's the best way to check us out on digital, as we'll be rolling out shorts here and there, picks all across the board. Anita, how you doing? Happy April Fools. Did anybody get you today?
Almost. The PGA Tour released a notice saying that PGA Tour players were going to have to carry their own bags from here on out. That got me for like a good 30 seconds, and I was like, no way.
Anita Marks will not carry her own bag, ladies and gentlemen. That task falls to the commoners. Nope. She will not do such a thing. All right, we got a lot to get to. Debbie Antonelli is going to join us to preview the women's Final Four in just a moment. But let's rip through some big NBA games tonight on the Friday card and try to make some people some money. We're going to begin in Milwaukee, where the Bucks, fresh off a traumatic comeback overtime victory over the Brooklyn Nets, are set to host the Los Angeles Clippers. Take note, Milwaukee laying 3.5, total of 217.5. This line has come plummeting down. 8 starters are out between the two teams. Paul George out for the Clippers. Giannis, Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, Drew Holiday, all out for the Bucks. The game's a mess, Anita. How are you going to handicap it?
I think, what is this going to be, a pickup basketball game? I mean, what's going on here? I've been trying to handicap this all day, right? Like we had the podcast earlier. Lines are moving. We're getting closer to the postseason. Teams rest management, which is a little surprising to me because I thought for sure the Bucks competing with the Heat to try to get that #1 seed. Everybody's trying to avoid the Nets in the Nets in the first round of the playoffs. So this is a little surprising to me. But this is a great opportunity, Joe, to play some prop bets. Terrence Mann, he's averaging 20 minutes a game and putting up 20 points. He's going to get way above 20 minutes tonight. Therefore, his prop total for points is 15.5. I'm going over. You can get that at -114. And Covington, he averages a combined 6 rebounds and assists a game. Guess what? That total is at 8.5, and you can get that at -110. So I'm going over as well. I think Covington and Mann are going to play at least 30 minutes tonight. So you can take advantage of a lot of prop bets for players who are going to be active.
Very smart. Very smart. I think that's the best way to go about this game. A perfect example of that, of why you should be seeing who's out and who's going to replace them. The bookmakers don't necessarily update the numbers accurately. An example yesterday, Jeremy Grant from the Detroit Pistons ruled out for the season. Marvin Bagley now in the starting lineup. Bagley's over-under rebound prop was bumped up to 7.5. It wasn't enough. He got to 9. So there's value there. Smart move, Anita. I like where you're at. I'll attack the side here. Give me the Clippers plus 3.5 in this game. I don't love it as much as I did this morning when it was at 7, and you and I were talking about it on the Daily Wager podcast, but I'll still get involved. First and foremost, this is not a good spot for Milwaukee. They have traditionally performed poorly against the spread in the second half of a back-to-back. Over their last 15 games, when they're in the second half of a back-to-back, they're just 4-11 against the spread. And I think when you sit this many starters coming off huge wins against not only Philadelphia, where you had to come from behind and win, but also against Brooklyn last night, where you had to come from behind and win, this is one of those, all right, we're going to relax, kick our feet up, lay by the pool, have a cocktail sort of games. So I'll take the Clippers here, even though they're without Paul George. They're fighting for playoff positioning. Give me the 3.5. Game number 2, the Phoenix Suns, best team in the NBA.
Whoa, Joe, hold up a minute. And Adam Schefter is reporting, no way. Adam Schefter is reporting that Tom Brady has just been traded to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for Jalen Hurts, Whiteside, one of this year's first-round picks for the Eagles, and a conditional pick in 2023. Whoa.
You're so full of it. You are so full of it. First of all, it's April Fools. And second of all, Tom Brady would never go to that loser organization. He would never go to that loser organization. Don't you dare try to get me excited about any of the Philadelphia teams. The Flyers just traded Claude Giroux. The Sixers suck. The Phillies, the only thing the Phillies do is depress you in between basketball and football. Shame on you for trying to get my hopes up like that. Shame on you.
Should I? Don't I even get an Academy Award for the performance?
No.
I had you
get
for a
nothing.
minute. I had you for a minute.
You get nothing and you'll like it. The second it started, I thought, Weimer, our producer, is going to kill you for derailing the segment like that. So I kind of took some pleasure in it for a second. But I think it's an excellent try. To your credit, the terms of the deal sounded pretty good.
I think so. I think it was a realistic trade. Anyway, back to the NBA, my friend. Go ahead.
Now you got me thinking about this loser Eagles season that's coming up. I don't want anything to do with that. All right. Back to the NBA. Phoenix is laying 7, total of 228.5. They're in Memphis to take on the Grizzlies. There's a lot going on with the Grizzly roster here as well. I'll leave that to you. What do you think about this one?
Well, I'm wearing my Chris Paul shirt, so that's got to tell you a lot, right? I'm all over the Suns. I'll lay the points against the Grizzlies. As you said, Morant's out, Bane's out, Jones out, J times 3 is out. Adams is out. I mean, it's kind of like they're taking a page from the Bucks-Clippers game, that's for sure. I do like Chris Paul over 9.5 assists. He's averaging 12 assists a game since he's returned. And last time he went up against Memphis, yep, you guessed it, he had 12 assists as well. Dylan Brooks should get a lot of playing time. I'm going over 21.5 points for him as well. He's averaging 23 points a game and 2 rebounds when he plays 23 minutes. I'm expecting at least 30 minutes tonight. Meanwhile, I love this stat. When the Suns go up against a team that they lost to previously, they're 13-2 straight up and they're 10-1 against the spread. Suns roll, Chris Paul goes off, and I love Dylan Brooks over points.
Okay, I'm going to play into that a little bit as well. I'm going to play the Suns in the first quarter here, -2. Grizz coming out in this matchup, traditionally a great first quarter team, but they're sitting everyone down. They have the number 2 seed locked up, so the rest of the way out, it's probably going to be about conserving energy and health and getting ready for the playoffs. The Suns have been fantastic in the first quarter this season, 23, 12, and 1 against the spread. They're covering almost 2/3 of the time in the first quarter. We're only asking them to cover 2 points here. I worry a little bit about laying the number for the full game because maybe now that Phoenix sees what Memphis is trying out, you don't get their A effort, but I do think they break from the gates early, putting themselves in a position to cover this number, and then we'll see what happens later, but I certainly hope your bet cashes as well. Let's keep it moving. Game number 3. This one might have all the stats for Friday night. Denver's laying 2.5, total of 242 points against the red-hot Minnesota Timberwolves. How are you going to attack this one?
Yeah, give me the Nuggets. I'll lay the points. Also, I like the over here as well. Jokic, that MVP race, heating up, man, and he's been unbelievable, averaging 25 points a game, 15 rebounds, and 9 assists. Almost a triple-double each and every night, which is ridiculous. He put those numbers up against Minnesota the last time he faced them. You know, Denver, they've won 3 straight. They've won 4 of their last 5. Meanwhile, the Timberwolves, they've lost 4 of their last 5. And they're turning the ball over at an exceptional rate. So I like the Nuggets here. I'll lay the points. And again, I love the over. I think a lot of points are going to be scored in this game tonight.
I hope you're right because I'm going to play some prop action here. Patrick Beverley of the Timberwolves over 3.5 assists. Now, it's a little juicy at -150, but the juice here is worth the squeeze. Let me explain. Beverley's averaging about 4.6 assists per game on the season. So his average gets him above this mark. But what we really like here is the opponent and the location. The opponent is the Denver Nuggets. All right, they like to play a little bit faster, shaky D, very good offense, and we see a total of 240-plus points in this game. Like Anita said, that indicates a lot of stats, a lot of scoring, a lot of possessions, a lot of rebounds, a lot of assists. Number 2, Minnesota at home versus Minnesota on the road. 2 very different teams. Minnesota games, when played at home, are averaging 219 total points per game. In Minnesota games on the road are averaging 235 points per game. Their defense completely falls apart. In 3 games against Denver this year, Patrick Beverley has recorded 5 assists, 8 assists, and 5 assists. We only need 4 tonight. It's -150 for a reason. Squeeze that juice. It's absolutely worth it. Beverley over 3.5 assists. Final game before we turn to the college hardwood. The New Orleans Pelicans laying a point, total of 230.5 in Los Angeles to take on the Lakers. A lot of uncertainty here. Anthony Davis and LeBron, they might play, they might not. No word as of yet. What are you going to do?
I like the Pelicans here. I like them a lot. Even if AD plays, listen, we haven't seen him since the All-Star break, so I'm sure he's going to be on some clock management. Also, LeBron James is dealing with an ankle issue as well. Jump on the Pelicans right now. Also, I like McCollum over 22.5 points. He's averaging 26 a game. He's shooting 50%. Love the change of scenery and team. Since then, the Pelicans have been great. Keep in mind, they've won 6 of their last 9. Also, they're in that 9th spot in the West, and they have the Spurs and the Lakers on their coattails. I think they come out. I think they play great basketball where even if AD does come back, I think it's going to take the Lakers a minute to gel because he's been on the shelf for quite a while. So I like the Pelicans.
All right, I'm going to be with you on that one. I'm glad we're in agreement. I'll play the Pelicans as well. It's, again, a little bit shaky depending on who's going to play and who's not. But I want to go back to last week, about 8 days ago or so. The Pelicans and Lakers got together in New Orleans. LeBron played in that game. New Orleans won that game by 8 points, despite the fact that the Lakers shot 52% from the floor and 40% from deep, well above their season averages in both categories. All right, the Pelicans shot at average or below average in both categories and still won the game by 8. What does that tell us? Well, if there's some regression for the Lakers and the Pelicans still go out and do what they do, they should be able to win this game again. I think the numbers point to them being in favor here, even if LeBron does play. Give me the Pelicans minus the 1. Although it is shaky, we got to see who's going to be in the lineup. That's some of the danger of dealing with the NBA at this time of day. Now, from the professional ranks to the collegiate ranks, the women's Final Four tips off, gets underway tonight in Minnesota. It features a battle of number 1 seeds as Louisville and South Carolina are going to do battle, as well as 1 seed Stanford taking on 2 seed UConn. For more, we go to the big guns. Debbie Antonelli in Minnesota, kind enough to join us here on Bet. Debbie, thank you so much for your time. Let's start like this. South Carolina is an 8-point favorite over Louisville and boasts Naismith Player of the Year Aaliyah Boston, as well as the number 1 overall seed. What stats do you think the Cardinals need to limit Boston to if they want a chance of springing the upset here?
Well, first of all, Aaliyah Boston has deserved and earned all those National Player of the Year awards. She is challenging all season. She's had 28 double-doubles. She's averaging a double-double in the NCAA tournament. I think because she averages 17 points and 12 on the regular season, in order for Louisville to have a chance, because it's tough to contain her in the paint, those numbers have to be a little bit less because you're not going to stop her. 14 points and 10 boards might be just enough for Louisville to be able to contain her and keep her under control inside.
Well, Louisville, they have a score as well, and Haley Van Leef, she's scoring 46%. She's shooting 47% in the tournament. Now, what do you expect from her and their offensive firepower going up against South Carolina? I know these are 2 really good defensive teams competing later on tonight.
Yeah, these 2 are really good defensively. I mean, they're up the line, overplaying. It's pressure, it's traps, it's press. You don't know when the pressure or the traps are coming, but you know that they are coming. Haley Van Lith, in 4 tournament games, or the last 4 games, has averaged over 20 points. 6 of her last 8 games, she's been over 20. She's by far one of the hottest players in the NCAA tournament. Now, South Carolina will counter with great length, with quickness, with depth. She's a smaller guard. However, her ability to create shots, work off their screening action, to get out in the open court will give them a chance. They've got to make shots against this length and the size of South Carolina's defense. But I like Louisville having a chance in this one because they can make shots from the outside. I expect them to make them here.
In the nightcap, we have UConn and head coaching legend Gino Auriemma and the Huskies. They're catching 1.5 points against defending champion Stanford. UConn suffered a big loss in that double OT win over NC State. Where will the Huskies miss Dorka Juhas the most in this Final Four showdown?
You know, that's a really great question. I think they're going to miss her on the defensive end going up against the All-American Cameron Brink on the inside for Stanford. Cameron Brink has led the team in scoring and rebounding, and she is prone to foul trouble. I think Coach Auriemma will miss the fact that he'll not have that kind of physicality on the front line and not have that kind of depth on the defensive end. Scoring's not an issue. You got Paige Beckers and AZ Fudd. They got that part taken care of.
And, you mentioned depth. Stanford probably has the deepest roster they've had in maybe 20 plus years. How is that going to play a role in regard to how they're going to contend? Who do you like coming out of this matchup?
Well, first of all, in the history of our game, I think you're going to have to check the record books. I don't think Connecticut's ever been an underdog in the Final Four. So take that for what that's worth. They are a really good team. However, Stanford, as a defending champion, is long, they're tall, they're deep, as you mentioned. They've got an ability to score at all three levels. This is a game about offense. This is going to be highly entertaining. I'm not sure either defense can stop the other, even though they're both very good. That's just how good the offenses are, and Stanford can counter with the ability to invert their guards. They play a very similar offensive style. They both like to play through the elbows to the pinch. They're both going to get some backdoor cuts. I think the last person with the ball is the team that wins this game.
Debbie Antonelli with fantastic insights, as always, joining us here on Bet. Thank you so much, Debbie. We appreciate the time.
Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day and enjoy the games.
And that we will. Women's Final Four pick'em time. 2 games tonight from Minneapolis, Minnesota. We begin with the South Carolina Gamecocks, who are laying 8 points, total of 119 against Louisville. This is 1 seed versus 1 seed. Anita, how do you want to bet it?
Yeah, I'm on South Carolina here. I'll lay the points, and also I'm going to go with the under. As we just heard, these are 2 of the best defensive teams in college basketball. Louisville, I know they're coming in with a chip on their shoulder. They missed last year's Final Four, but you know, you've got. Also, they hold teams to under 70 points. Again, another reason why I like the under. But South Carolina. Joe, they've only lost 2 games this season, and I know you mentioned Boston just a second ago. She's going to be the best player on the court. So I'm going to lay the points with South Carolina. Again, I like the under just because of how great these 2 teams play defense.
I'll lay the lumber as well. South Carolina opened as a 7-point favorite and got up as high as 8.5 for good reason. Listen to how they've throttled the opposition in the tournament so far. They won by 58. I'm just going to let that hang there for a moment. 58 points they won a game by, 16, 8, and 30. Okay, they've been annihilating everybody. 33 wins this season. Only 3 of them have come by fewer than 8 points. Granted, this is Louisville. This is a step up in class. This is a fantastic opponent. Louisville's been beastly in this tournament, no doubt, but this is a huge step up for them as well. All said and done, I'll chase the steam, follow the money, and back South Carolina like you will. Game number 2. Very compelling from a point spread perspective. Stanford is laying just 1.5, total of 130.5 against the UConn Huskies. Does UConn get it done in your opinion?
I don't believe they do. I'm going to go with Stanford. I'm going to take them on the money line. You can get it at -125. I'll lay a little bit more juice because I think this is going to be competitive. Listen, as we know, a lot of star power here. Stanford wanting to defend their championship. Cameron Brink, 6'4" forward, dominant in the paint. I just think she's going to be a little bit too much for the Huskies. I know UConn, they've won 23 straight, but they also needed an overtime to beat NC State. I just think the size in the paint is going to favor Stanford, so I'm going to take Stanford on the money line, again, at -125, Joe.
All right, I'm going to play a little total action here and go over 130.5. Game open 128.5. and has been bet up. So for the second game in a row, I'm going to chase some steam here. Both teams are averaging more than 73 points per game on the season. They can score. Stanford is elite on the defensive end, but keep in mind, they only are about 34th in the country in points allowed at 56 per game. So if each team scoring 56, that gives us about 112. Well short. But Stanford's the favorite, so you'd assume they might score more. Maybe they don't. But this is UConn. This is one of the best offenses in the country. They've only gotten better throughout the course of the year. I would take the 1.5 with UConn. I'm just sliding that in. But ultimately, my best bet for this game is going to be over 130.5. UConn, very good defense as well. But Stanford's going to find a way to hang some points. So that is that for the women's side of the equation. Now, let's go south from Minneapolis all the way down to the Big Easy as we head south on the Mississippi River. New Orleans, Louisiana is the site of the men's Final Four, which gets underway tomorrow, Saturday. First game out of the chute. Here we go. The Kansas Jayhawks, who had been a 4.5-point favorite all week, are now laying just 4. Some Villanova money started showing up. Jayhawks -4, total of 134. How are you going to play semifinal number 1?
I'm going to lay the points with Kansas, and I love that it's going down. I put some money down on them at 4.5. I'll revisit the window at 4, that's for sure. Also, I like the under here at 133. Kansas is the better team, right? And the fact that Villanova is not going to have Justin Moore, I think is going to be a much bigger crucial hit, not just because he's the second best player on the team, averaging 14 points a game, but Jay Wright doesn't have a big rotation. It's a 6-man rotation. So now what do? He's going to have to go to some of his bench players who aren't used to having this amount of time played in a game, especially a game of this magnitude. Again, I think Kansas is the most complete team. Remy Martin coming off the bench, scoring 20 points a game. It's a tale of two stories. So I really like Kansas here. And don't forget, Villanova shot less than 30% against Houston. I think they'll be lucky if they shoot 40% against Kansas. Big reason why I like the under as well, Joe.
All right, I got a prop bet for you, and then I'm going to slide a bonus pick in as well. The prop bet is Eric Dixon, Villanova forward, going over 8.5 points in this game. The number's low because we saw him score just 6 points against Houston in the Elite Eight and just 6 points against Michigan in the Sweet 16. So the numbers come down a little bit, which is good for us. That's how we find value. Right, you mentioned Justin Moore, Villanova guard, out with an Achilles injury. That frees up about 13 shots per game and 15 points per game. Now, that doesn't mean it's all going to Eric Dixon, but it does mean scoring is going to need to come from other areas, which means more opportunities will be there for Dixon. I like the matchup against Kansas's David McCormick. I think he's going to be able to take advantage of that. And at the same time, remember, Kansas likes to play a little bit faster than Houston did. All right, this game's going to have a slower tempo, but Kansas wants to play faster than Houston, which means we're going to see a few more possessions, a few more shots, and a few more opportunities here. Eric Dixon over 8.5. Bonus play, I'm against you on this one. I will take Villanova. Jay Wright, the head coach, 21-6 against the spread. 21-6 against the number in his last 27 March Madness games. Villanova #1 in the country in free throw shooting. Kansas ranks 164th in free throw shooting. Keep that in mind. This is a lower scoring game. Those free throws, that Nova defense, that could be the difference when we're talking about a 4-point spread. Now to the game everyone's talking about. Not sure if you're aware, Anita, this could be Coach K's final game as he is set to retire this year. I know I'm breaking news just like you and Adam Schefter with Brady to the Eagles, although this is real news rather than that fake news. Here's the situation. Duke laying 4. Total in this one is sitting at 151. What's it going to be? How are you going to play it?
Yeah, I like UNC here. Give me the points. Also, I like the over in this game. A lot of firepower in this matchup as well. And I think probably the best bet on the table is the winning margin being within 5 points. Listen, we saw UNC. They put up 94 points against Duke on senior night on their own court. I think they come in with a lot of swag. And UNC matches up well against Duke. They're strong in the paint. On top of that, they're the #2 rebounding team in the tournament. On top of that, they're great on the perimeter in regard to defending 3-point shots. They're long, they're athletic, they can contest, and they've got a deeper roster, and I think this is going to be a track meet. So I think a deeper roster is going to benefit them. Also, interesting note here, the last 6 meetings, the over has hit when these two teams have faced each other. So another reason why I do like the over as well.
Okay, excellent. You and I are lockstep in this one. I'm with you. I will play UNC. We talked about it a lot on Daily Wager, how we were going to wait for the number to go up. I'm not so sure that's going to happen. Duke money is going to hit the market tomorrow, but I think the wise guys are waiting for a better price on UNC. I did see a respected offshore book drop to 3.5 for a couple hours yesterday, so keep that in mind. UNC's defense has been incredible since mid-February. From then until now, the toughest time of year when you got to go through your conference tourney and March Madness, they are top 10 in the country in defensive efficiency. During that same time span, Duke ranks outside the top 150 in defensive efficiency. These two teams are very familiar with one another. UNC rocked the Blue Devils at Cameron Indoor in the final regular season game of the year. I don't think that means a whole lot here when you're talking about revenge and everything else. I do think it matters for UNC's psyche. I don't think they're coming into this game nervous, shook, worried, any of that stuff. I think they know they can go toe-to-toe with these guys and they can beat them up. And I think ultimately late in the game, they're going to be right there making plays on the defensive end that's going to give them a chance to win. Think about it like this. On the money line, Duke is minus 200. All right, that means you got to risk $200 to win 100 on Duke. No point spread, just win the game. What minus 200 implies is a 66% chance of winning this game. I don't think Duke has a 66% chance of winning this game. Maybe 58, maybe 60, not 66. So not only do I see an edge there, but at the same time, I'm getting 4 points with UNC. I'm with you, Anita. I'll take the points. I will take the underdog Tar Heels to get the job done. So that's what we're going to handle for the college sector. Now it's time for Before I Let You Go. One final bet on our way out the door to send you into the betting weekend. Anita, you can go anywhere with this one. Maybe a little Miami highlight. I know you're very fond of that. Maybe a little English snooker. I know you're fond of that. Floor is yours. Where do you want to go?
You know, my father was one of the best highlight players in Miami when I was a child.
Really?
But I've derailed. Yes, let's get back on track.
Is that April Fool's? Is that April Fool's as well?
No, it's not. In fact, I have his stick. What is it? The thing that's made out of. Anyway, Weimer's probably getting upset with me. Let me get this out. DeJounte Murray over 24.5 points tonight. I love this young man. Again, who thought that when the Spurs had the fire sale that they'd be competing to try to get into that play-in game, and they're sitting at the 9 right now, and why? Because of Murray. He's been unbelievable. The last 2 games, he's put up 33 points. The Spurs, they're trying to stay in to get into the postseason, and he's averaging 26 points a game. So at 24.5, he's got a great matchup against the Blazers tonight. So Murray over 24.5 points, you get it at minus 110. Boom.
I like it. I'm going to join you in the association. I'm going to go to the Dallas-Washington Wizards matchup. The total's 217.5. I think that's a bit high. I'm going to play the under. I think the number's high for a few reasons. First and foremost, we have seen the last 2 Mavericks games go over the total, and we saw steam pointing to that as well. So there was a game against the Lakers earlier in this week. A lot of us on Daily Wager, myself included, thought it was going to go under, despite the fact that the total was going up. What ended up happening? Flew over the total. Similar situation against Cleveland. We thought it was going to be an under. Total started going up. Boom, flies over the total. So now we're watching the total come down, and I think this is where Dallas's defense bounces back. Number 2 in the NBA in points allowed, top 6 in defensive efficiency, 30th in pace. They're in no rush to get up and down the court. The Wizards' offense is absolutely terrible. They play at a slow pace. Okay, they don't stack up with Cleveland or the Lakers. I know some people would say they stack up with the Lakers. From a pace perspective, they don't, and that's important when we're talking about totals. So 217.5, I'm going under Dallas and Washington. And again, shame on you for thinking that I would buy into Tom Brady being traded to Philadelphia. Brady's too smart. He would never go to that city, ever.
I had you for a minute, Joe. Be honest. I had you for a minute.
It was a noble try. When Edelman announced on Twitter earlier today that he was joining Brady in Tampa Bay, I started thinking to myself, maybe I'm in for some shock today. So I've been on red alert, but that's neither here nor there. She's the amazing Anita Marks. I'm Joe Fortenbaugh. Thanks for checking us out. Have a great weekend, everybody.